I've written extensively when I was a law professor. Been on a lot of university campuses. Matter of fact, for 4 years, I was a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania.
Here's a story that you told at least 3 times about Nelson Mandela. Take a look.
I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island.
I guess the question is, were you confused or were you just trying to embellish a story?
They think I'm kidding, man. Seems like yesterday, the first time I got arrested anyway. But I am a hard coal miner. Anthracite coal, Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Hell, I might be president now if it weren't for the fact I said I had an uncle who was a coal miner. Turned out I didn't have anybody in the coal mines, you know what I mean?
Really?
I tried that crap, you know.
My dad was he was a salesperson. He wasn't a coal miner. My great-grandpa was, but I used to drive a tractor trailer.
Oh, awesome.
And so I know a little bit about driving big trucks.
No, that's great.
But,
That man is a pathological liar, and if he's lying about himself, what else do you think he's lying about? I'm going to answer that question in just a little bit. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and man, oh man, do we have some crazy news to get into today, not just outside of Kamala Harris's house, but of course in this nation, all throughout the United States, that of course is not seeing its best days, and they definitely look like they're not ahead of us either. This says there's a lot of important financial news to get into, a lot of conspiracies, lots of undermining of the American people, but more importantly, there's a lot of propaganda, a lot of disinformation, especially when it comes to a few sociopathic, crazy individuals literally preparing for a full, all-out nuclear war. Yes, it's absolutely absurd, and as I've been saying for a very long time, the truth is the first casualty of war, and if you agree with that, you can get this shirt on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is by a very talented Maze Moore. An incredible clip really highlighting the over-exaggerations, the lies that were spread by, of course, the President of the United States, who sometimes barely could make coherent sentences. This video's a masterpiece, and we're going to link to Maze Moore's Twitter or YouTube account down in the description below so you could follow more of the incredible work that this person does. Hell, I'm just going to contact him right now, see if he wants to do more work with us, because I definitely think we need more artistic representations out there that, of course, break through the matrix, break through conditioning, and more importantly, break through the bullcrap that politicians are spewing every single day. This, as of course, life in American cities is becoming more and more difficult and tumultuous for a lot of individuals, like this video coming out of Washington, D.C., where it looks like a homeless person is literally sleeping on top of someone's car. That person in the car looks like they just don't care, and they're driving off with some crazy person on the hood of their car. No, this is not the new Uber. This is the new way of life here in America, where, of course, politicians prioritize multinational corporations over, of course, taking care of their own people. This, as, of course, the federal government within Washington, D.C. has been prioritizing and incentivizing policies that have been shipping migrants across the southern border to the United States. A lot of these border towns, states, have been actually sending these people to the nation's capital as yet another bus arrived of migrants right outside of the vice president's house in Washington, D.C. As of course, she's a part of the administration saying, hey, come on in. I wonder if she's going to open up her doors and her house to, of course, the individuals that many multinational corporations prey on for cheap labor. And as wages are lowered, housing becomes more expensive because of the immigration policies of the federal government. This is still all in the midst of financial chaos that has been gripping the entire world. This says today, we're also finding out that the Bank of England says that people's pensions funds were, quote, hours away from disaster before they intervened. This story specifically highlighting the instability, the fragileness of our current financial system, which is just moments away from utter chaos. There's no denying this. This is a storm that's been coming for a very long time. There's no denying it. And with the Bank of England admitting to these larger statements, highlights how this problem is going to culminate in a matter of time. And the situation internationally, especially in other poorer countries, is getting more severe as we covered the latest developments in Bangladesh, as today Belarus just announced a ban on consumer prices rising, which is, again, not going to work here. Producers aren't going to be producing a product that they can't get a profit from. That's how the system runs. We have seen similar efforts be tried in Venezuela, where of course it brought the market into chaos. I saw this myself a couple years ago in Caracas, Venezuela. And when you ban consumer prices from rising, you ban companies, private corporations, and individuals from producing a product which they're not incentivized to do anymore, since in many instances they most likely will be losing money. Why would someone lose money? Again, why would a government create these policies? And all of this is happening as, of course, many Western governments have been spending money like a Beverly Hills divorced woman with an unlimited credit card. This as today we also found out that the government in Canada that has been successfully infiltrated, admittedly, by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum that were bragging about this, had a contract with the World Economic Forum worth $105 million to develop its traveler digital identification system, which of course was a huge burden on the people living in that country that had to comply with bureaucracy, arbitrary rules for absolutely no reason at all except for to be tracked and databased by their federal government. Again, the World Economic Forum bragged about how their young leaders infiltrated the Canadian government, and now the Canadian government is giving them contracts to implement their Orwellian draconian policies that of course restrict people's personal freedoms, liberties, and any semblance of privacy that they previously had before. This, as of course China still contains a zero sickness policy that of course many Western billionaires are cheering on and supporting, which literally see people being thrown in cages by white stormtrooper looking like dudes with machine guns that are, quote, just following orders and backing the blue in their country. Of course, being obedient servants of the government, just like most, quote, authority figures that are, quote, just following orders. And again, this is the future that many globalists, that many central controllers, that many billionaires want for you. And personally, I think that is absolutely unacceptable. And this is why I made LukeUncensored.com our very own platform where we get to say and do whatever we want. There's usually a video almost every single day, a brand new video just made for sponsors. There's a forum where you can meet like-minded individuals, 3 masterclasses on survival, traveling, doing online communications, having your own YouTube channel, following your passions, following your dreams. This is, along with, of course, exclusive merchandise that you could only get by being a member of LukeUncensored.com, as we strive to give you the most amount of value in one single package, in one single platform where we control everything. It is going to be extremely difficult to take this website down. It's not impossible. Nothing's impossible. But right now, with how horrible speech has been limited, with how horrible political discussions have been censored, this is still one of the few ways supporting independent media going on alternative platforms that truly does highlight a larger solution to the modern problems that we are facing, which of course we are going to be predominantly talking about in today's video. Lots of people want to lay out traps for you in society. Those traps, of course, want you bogged down, want you stuck in the old system, and it doesn't have to be the reality for you. You could seek alternatives, which of course we all discuss specifically on LukeUncensored.com, and how not to be targeted by a lot of this utter nonsense hidden the world right now. You don't have to be hit. And I will see you later on today on LukeUncensored.com. Now, jumping into our main topic, I think it's fair to say that our intelligence agencies don't always have the best track record when it comes to starting wars, which many people find out afterwards was usually based on lies. And when we look at federal intelligence agencies like the FBI, they have been lying a lot recently, using their powers for political purposes to help out the current party establishment. This, as today, we're also finding out that the FBI has significantly undercounted the number of times that law-abiding, legally armed citizens stop tragic, horrible events, as of course it goes against the agenda. It goes against the narrative to actually, report on the data and provide actual statistics to what is happening in this country, obfuscating what is clearly something that would impact domestic and federal policy in the United States, but of course distorted by the FBI for their own political purposes. Now, the FBI is just one intelligence agency when it comes to trying to decipher everything that's happening in this world. There's, of course, a lot of other international American agencies that also don't have the best reputation of telling the truth here, as, of course, this latest conflict in Ukraine, which is a larger proxy war, has been filled with propaganda, disinformation, and lies, not just from Putin and the Russians, but, of course, also here domestically. We have to understand, again, as my shirt says, truth is the first casualty of lies, and I think it's fair to say that there's been a lot of propaganda and disinformation from both sides. All, of course, serving one purpose that has been severely escalating the tensions, pushing us closer towards a larger war or a larger conflict that is going to affect negatively more and more people when, of course, voices calling for de-escalations have been censored, have been shunned, and have even been personally attacked. The corporate media likes to give you two dichotomies. Either one, give Putin everything he wants. Two, let's play nuclear chicken. And again, these are false dichotomies when there, of course, is a third option that, of course, no one wants to talk about. As, of course, we have more and more escalations that just stop any legitimate form of conversation. This, as the current president of Ukraine has just passed into a law in his country that prevents the government there from negotiating a peace deal with the president of Russia. He's also today calling for preemptive NATO strikes on Russia, which of course would mean an all-out world war. Something that I think, we should maybe strive to stop instead of running towards it. This, as the government in Ukraine is giving out potassium iodine pills to its citizens in preparedness of a full all-out nuclear war that we could only hope is prevented. Elon Musk made some very interesting comments about the current situation, trying to, of course, offer up some kind of peace deal, trying to offer up some kind of basis on negotiations. And of course, yes, you could criticize his original offer. There's a lot to criticize there, but at least the conversation was started. He was attacked and vilified for even starting that conversation, which is absurd. He came out just moments ago and said, quote, "I'm a big fan of Ukraine, but not of World War III. This, as again, he's facing heavy criticism in what is essentially trying to prevent the future deaths of innocent human beings. Elon Musk, when you look at the proposals, the policies that he's pushing forward, the things he's calling forward, essentially will lead to less people dying. That, to me, is a good thing. Calling for more people to die, calling for more war, calling for a full all-out world war with NATO bombing the United States will lead to more people dying. That is bad. Bad thing. And that needs to be explained simply because somehow people have it twisted and think calling for more war is somehow good. There's insane, chicken hawk, lunatic, neoconservative individuals like Lindsey Graham that had their hand in the 2014 Ukrainian revolution that are now calling for Congress to punish Tesla and take away their tax credit because Elon Musk proposed a peace deal in Ukraine. This is, and again, an insane proposal by this lunatic, Senator Lindsey Graham, who forgot to mention that this electric vehicle tax credit is not being offered to Tesla, even though Tesla produces cars here in the United States. As of course, the tax credit is given out to major car manufacturers, proposing now that the funds taken away from Tesla and the tax incentives taken away from Tesla should be, quote, given to Ukraine. This as he's calling for more money, more weapons, which we're finding on the black market, as we're even finding out through the New York Times that a lot of the weapons are being sent without any kind of accountability, without any kind of tracing, without any kind of tracking number. They're just being thrown into the territory where some individuals are taking them and selling them in other parts of Europe, mostly to, of course, criminal gangs and elements, and maybe even radical Islamists. Who knows? But what do you expect is going to happen when you, of course, have insane people like Lindsey Graham just being like, hey, send all of it here? And the situation and threat is getting serious, as, of course, the United States, the federal government, has even decided to stockpile $300 million worth of radiation sickness drugs themselves, while, of course, saying, oh, no, this has nothing to do with the current foreign policy, with the current threat of nuclear war. Why are you getting nuclear radiation pills ready for yourself? Is what everyone should be asking themselves, but They're not. Again, to me, a lot of this is ridiculous. I absolutely, personally, just being honest here with you guys, agree with Elon Musk. Yes, I love Ukraine. I love the people of Ukraine. But I'm not a fan of World War III. I'm not a fan of any government escalating this situation, whether it's the Russians, whether it's the Ukrainians, whether it's the United States, whether it's the United Kingdom. I don't care. The idea that young men, that innocent people should lose their lives for the political whims of politicians is absolutely absurd. And we could prevent more life loss by calling for peace, by calling for de-escalation, which I think personally is more important than ever. If you disagree with me, let me know why, with concrete arguments, with data, with evidence that you could highlight to me down in the description below. I always appreciate seeing a perspective that I wouldn't naturally see myself. I might be wrong on this. If I am wrong, prove me wrong. I'm all in for that conversation. I'm all in for that dialogue. But if you agreed with me, it is more also imperative than ever that you share this video with your friends and family members. And because you do, this is one of the only reasons why I still exist as an independent media organization. I've been doing this for 16 plus years. I'm doing this mainly because of your support, your backing. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. And this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video available for you right now on lukeuncensored.com. See you there.